Hello, I'm Gene Hall, and this is Texas Farm Bureau News. On our show this time, we'll take a look at November's general elections and how it impacts AGFUND. We'll also visit a bit with Jim Sartwelle about the Farm Bill debate. And a Texas Farm Bureau member makes music in a big way. First up, our General Motors program is off to a roaring start in Denton County. Tom Nicoletti has the story.
Texas Farm Bureau members across the state have been racking up the savings with TFB's new General Motors Vehicle Discount Program that kicked off last October. Denton County Farm Bureau members were the first in the state to reach the 100 vehicle mark this year, a big accomplishment for both the local members and the area's Chevrolet dealerships. Farm Bureau members can now receive a $500 discount on each qualifying new Chevrolet, GMC, or Buick vehicle they purchase or lease. The discount is available at participating dealerships like James Wood Chevrolet in Denton through Farm Bureau's GM private offer. Since October 2011, more than 5,000 Texas Farm Bureau members have taken advantage of the offer. It applies to virtually every GM model manufactured. To qualify for the offer, individuals must have been a Farm Bureau member in good standing for at least 60 days immediately prior to the delivery of the vehicle selected. This applies to both new and existing members. For TFB News, I'm Tom Nicoletti.
When we come back, a look at general elections, AGFUND, and the Farm Bill.
Back in 2009, I called to sell the last remaining wheat I had. They were doing an audit on the grain inventory, but no grain could be sold. In February of 2010, the elevator filed bankruptcy. There were a group of farmers and grocers in Collin County that were affected by this elevator bankruptcy. We realized that something needs to be done to protect grain producers in the event of a financial loss from the grain buyer. Producers are wanting to create a fund paid by them to protect themselves. If you have a problem, you file a claim, it's going to be reviewed, and then they will identify 90% of the value of your grain.
Once they get a balance large enough to be sure that they're able to cover a loss risk, then they will start a process to refund those assessments on a first in, first out basis.
It doesn't say that we have a fund established. It only created the opportunity for grain producers to vote in a referendum. And I would encourage all producers to go and vote for this to help mitigate his risk and to protect himself and his family.
Welcome back. We're here with Jim Sartwelle, Farm Bureau's Director of Public Policy. And Jim, we just finished the latest primary season we've ever experienced, that Texas has ever experienced, but it's not over yet. Farm Bureau members still have work to do.
As for the never-ending story, 2012 continues. We'll move on now to the first Tuesday in November. With general elections, our Board of Directors of AGFUND have just endorsed 126 candidates for office, going all the way from a few statewide candidates all the way down to candidates for our regional courts of appeals. Got a lot of work left ahead of us. Most of our candidates we feel are probably in pretty good shape. A few of them are in swing districts that Farm Bureau folks are going to need to get out, just like we did in the first 2 rounds of primary voting. Get behind these endorsed candidates. Make sure we get some good folks elected to office.
Well, good folks, talking about that, we won some, we lost some, but one of the big wins was Kyle Cassell. But that's still not done until we vote in the general election, right?
No, sir. Kyle, of course, is one of our shining star Farm Bureau leaders. Young leaders, served at almost every level of Farm Bureau service here in Texas. Came with not the most ballot-friendly name, in a Republican primary especially, but came all the way through with less than 200 total votes, were his total margin of getting into the runoff and victory. We believe he's got an excellent opportunity to have a long career in the Texas House of Representatives. He has a credible other party opponent going against him here in November, and it'll be up to County Farm Bureau members in those 5 counties once again to saddle up, get our guy across the finish line.
And since we're talking about elections, writing a farm bill is not something you really want to do in an election year, is it?
Absolutely not. In fact, in the old days, we used to think that was good because we had folks who were worried about going back home to the farmers right before election time and having to address them about why haven't you gotten your work taken care of. They get so little of their work done in Washington right now in anything approximating a normal time schedule that I just don't think they're worried about getting it done. But yet the bill expires here on September 30th. And we hope that our folks, as well as our Farm Bureau colleagues around the country, hold these elected representatives' feet to the fire when they come home to ask for their vote about why haven't you gotten this farm bill done.
Well, that's really what they've got to do. When they see their elected officials, when they talk to them on the phone, they really got to turn up the heat, don't they?
You know, it doesn't matter if you're talking to somebody who's a candidate for office or already elected. You know, the old adage, if somebody tells you to trust me, you probably need to reach for your wallet. If the first thing these folks tell you, and when you ask them, are you going to vote for a farm bill, is, well, I sure respect what you do for a living, you need to dig back in. We need to get beyond the rhetoric with most of these folks running for office, either incumbent or challenger, and find out what the proof is behind what they will do, what they will support on behalf of America's farmers and ranchers, not just their rhetoric.
When we come back, a Texas Farm Bureau member makes championship music.
Agriculturalists, it's time for us to stand up. Because according to Yahoo Education, agriculture, animal science, and horticulture are useless degrees. But if that were true, then could you tell me, please, how is it possible for you to roll out of your silk sheets, brush your teeth with toothpaste made from cotton seeds, eat your Corn Pops breakfast cereal, and drink your 2% milk? What about the warm water you ran for your 20-minute shower or your chicken nugget lunch fried in Brazilian soybean oil? Did you know that 29,000 kids under the age of 5 died in Somalia because they were hungry? When was the last time you were dying to eat? Now, while you munch on that food for thought, let me give you a little more thought for food. Let's take it back as 1862. Lincoln signs the Morrill Act, and thus land-grant universities are born. Agriculture meets education, education meets science, science reaches the common man, and the rest is us, is we are the history. No longer is the cowboy just the man riding his horse off into the sunset, slinging 6 shooters in the wild, wild west. He's also the man bent over his workbench, dressed in his white lab coat, beaker in his hand, poring over solutions for growing wheat in drought-ridden lands. Geneticists, stand up. She's also the engineer, engineering wells and filtration systems to bring water to communities that are dying of thirst. Agricultural engineers, stand up. He's also the personal trainer, calculating calories, drafting up diets, and combating childhood obesity. Food scientists, nutritionists, stand up. She's also the quality control specialist, designing critical control points to control microbial growth rates in meats and vegetables so that your food is safe to eat. Meat scientists, microbiologists, stand up. He's the keeper of the stadium, ensuring that the fight in Texas Aggie turf remains green and lush. Agronomists, stand up. He is you, she is me, and together we are the educators, the researchers, the innovators, the businessmen, the humanists. We are the students, stand up. We are the next generation, stand up. We are the advocates, stand up. Farmers fight, stand up.
Welcome back. We need to take a moment on our show this time to recognize one of our young Texas Farm Bureau members who has just become the National Old Time Fiddlers Champion. Ed Wolf has the story.
I started playing violin when I was 6, and that was mostly classical music. And then we found out about the fiddling world just by chance. My dad has always been into the fiddling. He was just browsing around the internet and he found out about a fiddle contest in Groesbeck, Texas. So we went just to watch, and the moment I got out of that contest, I told my dad, I said, I want to do that so bad. I have not met anyone yet who has listened to this music and go, oh, that's so boring, I could never listen to that. Just the style in itself just draws you in. You know, I love classical music, but if you hear 4 or 5 people play, you know, Mozart's Second Concerto, then it's going to be pretty much the same. You hear 4 or 5 people play Dusty Miller, it's going to be a whole new ride every single time.
There was a switch in her maybe around 11 or 12 where before that it was like most children, you had to force her to practice and to get her work done, and then all of a sudden one morning she woke up and said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
I guess it was about 2 or 3 years after watching that first contest at Groesbeck that I told Dad, I said, I'd really like to try the Nationals just once to see how far up I could get. So we went for that first time, and then 4 years later, that was this year, and won the Nationals. When I walked up on stage and they were going to announce, it was, you know, top 5, and I thought, you know, well, I think I probably gotten maybe 2nd or 3rd if I'm lucky. I hadn't even dreamed that I would get 1st, so it was just very, very unbelievable. For quite a while, like I said, it took a while to kind of actually sink in. You have fiddlers who will get up and compete, and then they'll get off the stage, they'll pick up a guitar, and they'll go back up the person they're competing against. You know, there always is the person that's competing for the state title, the national title, and of course people work hard for that. But, you know, underneath there's a really, really close community of fiddlers who are just there to play with one another and, you know, enjoy the music.
And that's our show for this time. You'll see us next in December at the Texas Farm Bureau Convention. For the board and staff of Texas Farm Bureau, I'm Gene Hall. Thanks for watching.